Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And Vice President Biden never even tried to fix this during their 8-year period.
I've instructed Attorney General Holder to work with cities across the country to help build better relations between communities and law enforcement.
Never even tried to fix this.
That means working with law enforcement officials to make sure their ranks are representative of the communities they serve.
They had no idea how to do it.
It means working to train officials so that law enforcement conducts itself in a way that is fair to everybody.
Never even tried to fix this.
Now, we've launched a police data initiative that's helping Camden and other innovative cities use data to strengthen their work and hold themselves accountable by sharing it with the public.
They had no idea how to do it.
I'm going to be proposing some new community policing initiatives, including up to 50,000 additional body-worn cameras for law enforcement agencies.
President Obama and Vice President Biden never even tried to fix this.
Today, we're also releasing new policies on the military-style equipment that the federal government has in the past provided to state and local law enforcement agencies. We're going to prohibit some equipment made for the battlefield that is not appropriate for local police departments.
Good morning. And
obvious fact check there.
Yeah.
President Trump's claim about his predecessor's efforts to reform policing. In fact, the Trump administration has spent much of its time unraveling those Obama administration police reforms.
Oh! And there's the truth. In living color. There it is. Problem was, Obama had a GOP House and a GOP Senate, and they were never interested in fixing this problem. Never. So everything that he could do, he had to do through the Justice Department. Everything that he could do, he did do. But the GOP was never interested in solving any of the problems of racist policing. They were never interested in banning chokeholds. They were never interested in keeping military equipment out of Odessa, Texas. Yeah, Odessa, Texas. Where I still that cotton-picking desert of a town has a freaking tank. Yeah, it has a tank. Walnut Creek has military equipment. Go figure out that the GOP, is interested in police reform. No, they never wanted to have a national database. They didn't want pattern and practice investigations to go full throttle. They didn't want to stop the police from, randomly, searching black men who are more likely to get searched by a factor of 3 than a white guy. They're also more likely to get pulled over than a white guy. They're also more likely to die unarmed at the hands of police than a white guy. They're not interested in solving any of these problems. They are interested in exploiting the rift. They're interested in pitting one group against another group, even though we're all the same group. We're all the same group. It's just some people have to wear something all day long that they can't take off. And this causes them to have to live a life that you don't have to live. It causes them to have to fight a different fight every single day to stay alive than we have to fight every single day to stay alive. A different fight. And Americans are sick of it because we get it now. We understand it now. The exploitation of our issues has got to stop. They only want the issue. See, now this is how the Supreme Court now gave Donald Trump the DACA issue. So that's what I say. Expect to see him start tweeting about brown people now and DACA people now. And the Supreme Court doesn't like him now. This is a shotgun blast to the face. The Supreme Court doesn't like me. Always about him, always the victim, always. Why can't we have a police system in this country that responds to non-criminal calls with non-armed people who have a skill set that is different from armed officers' skill set? Why can't we have people responding to nonviolent calls who are social workers, mental health specialists, addiction specialists, homelessness advocates, who have information that could help the reason that the call was made instead of hurting the person against whom the call was made? You know, everybody gets this, but he's not willing to let go of this issue. Republicans are not willing to let go of this issue. This issue is one of the best performing issues they have ever had, racism. It is their top performer. That is why they invented it and brought it back to the forefront of all political campaigns when Richard Nixon decided the Southern strategy could work. This is a guy named Lee Atwater, one of the dirtiest guys. You know, you probably, can imagine Karl Rove is a sicko, okay? But he's predated by Lee Atwater, who, by the way, his brain betrayed him. He died of brain cancer. And on his deathbed, he recanted. But we live in a country that isn't interested in solving any of our problems. We live in a country where 98% of us want background checks on guns, and we can't get it. We live in a country where the entire world is in sympathy and empathy, out of empathy for, they are all over their streets. We're all over our streets trying to solve the problem of racist policing. And Donald Trump decides that the best thing he could do is to go on a propaganda news channel with a guy that he talks to every single freaking day, who is also a slumlord, and put out there in the bloodstream of old white men that maybe Rayshard Brooks had a gun. And that Democrats are doing nothing to solve your problems, even though Democrats are the only people who are interested in solving our problems. Whether the solution is something you are for or against, that's a whole other debate. But that they try to solve problems like income inequality through the tax code, the transfer of wealth through the PPP lately. That was some looting that went on there. And they're trying to hold the administration accountable for letting us know where our tax dollars went. Ooh, that's evil. That's evil. Foreign interference in our elections. We were warned he would do it again, and he will do it again, and you can't, the man is off, he's out of it. And now we have this obvious problem, and we've had it for a long time, of racial profiling and policing and judging people by how they look as being criminal before any other thing is known about them. See, the most heinous thing about the Rayshard Brooks killing is that these police officers spent 41 minutes with Rayshard Brooks talking to him. And he was jovial. He was admitting to them that they were just doing their job. He understood. He produced his license. He, agreed to a pat down. And then after the pat down, the conversation went on and on for like another 33 minutes. And then they sobriety field tested him and they tortured him. I mean, they literally put him through, usually when they tell you, to lift your leg in front of you and count to, go 1,001, usually 8 seconds, 10 seconds. They made him count. He's like 1,018, 1,019. And they're like, keep going. And he never loses it. He never loses his cool, ever. They fail to tell him he's under arrest. They fail to read him his rights. They just, out of the clear blue sky, they just decide, okay, now's the time to handcuff him after he was a human being to them. That's what's so shocking. He was obviously a human being to them by that point. They had talked to him. They made eye contact with him. They knew that he was there to celebrate his daughter's birthday party. She was at home wearing her party dress. waiting for him to come home. He went to get hamburgers. His wife didn't know what she wanted for an order, and he kept calling her, and his cell phone died. I mean, he was a human being to them, and still they treated him like a freaking animal, knowing that the taser that he took, which he shouldn't have done, that's not a death penalty offense, by the way, was spent. I mean, and these people, all these Republicans, all these conservatives, all of these nutbags on the TV, on the radio, all they want to do is inflame, exacerbate, agitate. They need their voters to be constantly afraid of a boogeyman. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.